Hey yo, what's up guys, this is Dr. KVSR and welcome back to the another episode of Cinema Surgeon। नहीं सही मजा करनी डॉक्टर शुभम अनफिल्टर्ड। लास्ट टाइम हमने जो टेस्ट हमारी जो मोटिवेशन वीडियो वाली वीडियो थी आपने जरूर देखी होगी एंड दिस टाइम वी हैव द बेस्ट फाइनेंशियल वीडियो ऑल अक्रॉस यूट्यूब।
If you don't want to be like everyone else, broke, stressed and stuck in a never-ending cycle, you need to focus on one thing, making your first $10,000. When I was 18, I had no money and no qualifications, but I did have big ambitions. Instead of worrying about making millions, I set myself the smaller, more achievable goal of making 10K. Now, as a self-made millionaire, I can tell you that first $10,000 was the hardest to make, but once I hit it, everything changed. It wasn't just about the money, it was about proving to myself that making money is a skill and not luck. Once I figured out how to make 10K once, I knew I could do it again and again and eventually scale it into real wealth. So if I had to start from zero and make that first $10,000 all over again, this is exactly how I do it in 3 steps. Most people make this way harder than it needs to be. They jump into crypto because their friend made money from it, or they try day trading because some guru promised it would make them rich. The problem is, need huge upfront cash reserves and crazy luck. These aren't side hustles, and they should never be seen as your main source of income. Instead, think of them as tools to multiply your money. When you're just starting out, you need something that requires a small amount of money to begin with and constantly puts cash in your pocket every day. When you strip away all the noise, there are only really 4 options. I've tried all of these, and take it from me, this choice is crucial because some options offer higher
Mark Tilbury,
while others are more limited. In the same way, some generate quick cash while others take more time to make money. Option 1 is selling in-person
10th class में इसने बंद कर दिया था,
probably heard of
पढ़ाई ड्रॉप आउट हो गया था।
Talking personal training, delivery driving, dog walking, nail designing,
and उसके बाद इन्हें कंपनी चालू की थी
so many more.
and he has
so common and basic.
He had made more than
ways to make money.
$10 million.
So don't overlook them, as they give you a way to get paid immediately. It's also pretty cheap to get started. All you need is some skills and
ये सारी जो नॉलेज बता रहा हूँ ना, ये सिर्फ उनकी यूट्यूब चैनल पढ़ी है। इसके अलावा मुझे लिंक्डइन के पेजेस मिला है, बिजनेस वाले पेजेस मिले, इसके अलावा विकिपीडिया न्यूज़ पे ज़्यादा कुछ उनके बारे में बस नहीं मिला है। एंड जो विकिपीडिया में इन्फॉर्मेशन लिखी है वो सेम टू सेम जो यूट्यूब पे लिखा हुआ है। सो इट्स वेरी स्ट्रेंज बट स्टिल इट इज द बेस्ट ओपन वीडियो ऑन यूट्यूब on the finance category.
And offer to wash people's cars. I'd look out for tidy gardens but dirty vehicles. Now, this might sound strange. However, I was betting if they were obsessed over keeping their garden tidy, they'd also want a nice shiny car on their driveway to impress their neighbours. Because these kinds of services are limited by your local area, it meant my demand was pretty up and down. Some months were busy and others I struggled to make anything. When I was busy, I was only able to work with one person at a time, which capped how much I could make in a day. So in-person services are great to get started with, but
that means he is car washing
that brings me on to option 2, which is local products. This is selling things like home-baked goods, handmade items, artwork, fresh produce and much more. This can be a great way to make money.
These are slowly but local product.
Unlike services where you get paid as soon as the job's done, selling local products
quick money, that is quick money.
I gave this a go using some of the profits from my car washing business. I bought some cheap model plane parts, then spent some time building each one up and then sold them to people at the RC Flying Club, which I went to on the weekends. However, I quickly realised I was putting a lot of work in for very little money. This was hard for me to come to terms with because I really enjoyed building them. Most of my earnings were being eaten up by the cost of materials. And on top of that, my customer base was very limited.
तभी बोला है ना फास्ट चलने वाला क्योंकि आपको काफी कुछ कैपिटल लगता है प्रोडक्ट को बिल्ड अप करने के लिए।
Selling local products can be fun.
सर्विस आप देते हो तो उसमें आपको प्रोडक्ट का काम नहीं करना पड़ता।
Option 3 is global products. This includes
that is highly scalable and slowly
drop shipping, sneaker reselling, print on demand, and
again the same thing.
More.
That is high scalable
services or local products. Going global means you have access to a much larger customer base, which gives you more opportunities to make money. You're not limited to just the people.
मेरे हिसाब से जो कभी भी कैटेगरी होता है थर्ड कैटेगरी इट इज द बेस्ट कैटेगरी
can buy from you. I was so excited about launching my own
It's
global
because
product.
scale matters a lot.
I flew all the way to China to partner with a manufacturer to produce my model aeroplane designs and sell them worldwide. Of course, you don't have to do this if you choose to go down the dropshipping or print-on-demand routes. However, this wasn't really an option when I started. If I'm honest, things started off pretty slowly for me because I had to keep reinvesting my profits.
इंडिया के अंदर इस टाइप के ऑप्शंस बहुत सारी कैटेगरी नहीं है.
Every sale required more investment. Once I sold 10 items, I then needed to buy 20 more to keep up. Instead of pocketing the profits, my money kept getting trapped in this endless cycle of restocking. Ultimately, was it worth it? 100%. However, you should only do this if you have the patience to wait 1 to 3 months for everything to start kicking off. So when this is up and running, it is probably the most passive, laziest way to make money that actually works. So that brings us on to Option 4,
मिठाई की दुकान खोल के बैठ जाओ.
online
मिठाई बिकनी बिकनी है.
This option
इस
wasn't
तरह की बात अब
actually
ये तो
possible for me when I was younger, but this is such an advantage nowadays. There are so
Faster
many
money
different
and highly
online
scalable.
services you can offer. These include copywriting, video editing, thumbnail design, running ads, social media management. The list goes on. Selling online services actually combines the two biggest
वीडियो एडिटिंग को मैं बोल
benefits
सकता हूँ कि जितना कुछ
in-person
आइडिया है
services and global
बहुत लार्ज नंबर
products.
पे स्केल के अंदर
This is
काम हो
because
रहा
you
है
get
एंड बहुत
global
फास्ट
reach,
मनी बनता
but
है.
the profit margins of a service. With products, you might make 20 to 30% margin that needs to be reinvested. With services, you're looking at 70 to 80% margins that go straight into your pocket. Plus,
Because
you can start making money from
investment
day
कम
one.
है
Look,
on production.
all of these are fantastic ways to make $10,000 as a student, especially these last two options. However, if I wanted to start making money as fast as possible, then I'd go with option 4, selling online services. So now we need to figure out exactly what online service to offer. So start by asking yourself
According to him,
3
fourth category is the
questions.
best.
What are you
But
really
मुझे
good
third
at?
category best
What
लगी
do you
है.
enjoy learning about? And what problems do businesses
बट उसमें कैपिटल काफी
consistently
ज्यादा
struggle
बड़ा
with?
चाहिए
The
पड़ता है.
sweet spot is where
फोर्थ
your
कैटेगरी में
answers
कैपिटल की जरूरत नहीं है.
overlap. Most people get stuck at this stage as they spend months or even years trying to perfect their skill
Your
before
expertise.
offering it to anyone. That is totally backwards. You need to start getting real-world experience as quickly as possible. So start by setting your prices under the normal market rate. Your main aim here is to earn and learn at the same time. Now let's take this one step further. This is the skill pyramid, made up of 4 elements that, when mastered together, transform a high-income skill into a $10,000 income. Miss just one and you'll stay stuck at the bottom, working hard but never breaking through. Element 1 is positioning. You see, not all online services are equal. The real money is in offering to help businesses make more money. That's because businesses think about money differently to individuals. When a business is making $50,000 a month, spending $2,000 to solve a problem isn't a big deal, as long as it helps them make more money. And take it from me, they have a lot of these problems. They need more customers, they need better systems, they need to stand out from their competition, and they need to convert more leads into sales. These
Standing
problems
out of the
never
competition
go
and
away,
convert
and businesses
lead
are
into sale
always willing to
बहुत
pay
बड़ा
to
challenge
solve
होता है.
them. On top of this, some industries simply have more money to spend than
You can
others.
go in
If
the
you think
system.
about how
वीडियो
you can
एडिटिंग जो लोग
reposition
करते हैं,
yourself,
कोचिंग करते हैं,
you'll
वो
start
कुछ
making
प्रोडक्ट
real
देते हैं
money
पोर्टफोलियो बनाने
faster.
के लिए.
Here are some
पोर्टफोलियो बनाओगे
ideas
खुद
to
का.
get you thinking. Instead of being a video editor for small YouTubers, you could edit videos for an entrepreneur who sells a product. If you make random thumbnails for clients, you could instead aim to become the main designer for an established creator. And if you're a copywriter, don't write cheap articles. Instead, focus on optimizing landing pages. This isn't about learning more skills. It's about putting yourself where the money's being made. Element 2 is leverage.
बिल्कुल.
You'll never make
It's not about the
$10,000
hobby,
without
it's about
leveraging value over
demand
time. Businesses don't
and the
pay for
supply.
effort,
मुझे समझ में आता
they
है.
pay for results. If you stop charging for the hours you work and instead for the return on investment you provide, you'll instantly make more money. Let's say you choose to run Facebook ads. If you charge per hour, you're stuck with a fixed rate, and the client will always want to keep your hours low. If you charge based on the money you bring in for the business, suddenly they're not thinking about cost, they're thinking about profit. And when they see that your work is directly making them money, they'll happily pay you more for it. The same goes for if you decide to offer social media management. If you just schedule posts and reply to comments, you're replaceable. But if you can prove that your strategy is bringing in more engagement, more leads and more
बिल्कुल
sales,
सही बात है.
you become a valuable asset, not just an expense.
It's always about clickability. Ad को बारे क्लिक कितने कर रहे हैं वो मैटर कर जाता है. उनको पैसे मिलेंगे but
Element
बोले
3
कि यही होने वाला
is
है.
reach. One of the biggest mistakes people make when starting out is thinking they always have to chase clients, but that's not how the game should be played.
मुझे लगता है ये जो मोस्टली वीडियो फोटोग्राफ था ना, फोर्थ पार्ट था, दैट मींस फर्स्ट क्वाड्रेंट, उस पे फोकस करेगी. वीडियो टोटल अभी लग रहा है मुझे. यहाँ वीडियो एडिटिंग, ग्राफिक डिजाइनर, थंबनेल डिजाइन, कॉपीराइटिंग के बारे में ज़्यादा बात करेंगे.
Dominated the search results. So I reached out to him and asked him for his prices. He told me he was just posting some of his designs for fun on TikTok. He wasn't even doing it as a side hustle, so politely declined. However, his videos kept growing in popularity and his inbox was flooded with DMs asking to work with him. A few weeks later, he reached back out to me asking how to start getting paid. I helped him set up a proper business and now he works for me and many other clients. This just goes to show that you should always be putting your work out there online, even if you're just starting out or just doing something because you enjoy it. You never know what opportunities might come from it. So if you edit videos, show before and after clips to highlight
just
how
share
much
it.
better
Just
you're
share
able
it.
to make the content. If you design thumbnails,
You don't know what
explain
thing
why you're
go
designing
viral
them.
algorithm.
And if you're learning social media, document how you're growing an account from scratch. Element 4 is automation. 95% of people that try to start a side hustle or business fail before they even really get going. Here's why. After working with countless copywriters,
It is very important,
designers,
automation.
web developers and video editors, I can tell you that 95% of them promise to deliver on time, then completely miss their deadlines. The thing that will make you stand out the most isn't talent or charisma, it's reliability. And overlooking this is the biggest mistake young people make when starting out. The people I've ended up paying thousands to aren't always the best at what they do, but they're the most organized. They never miss deadlines, they always communicate clearly, and they make
That could be
working
only
with them
possible
effortless.
through
So
automation.
take it from me. Being good at what you do is one thing, but being reliable is what gets you paid again and again. So how do you do this? Well, the most successful people I know don't rely on memory or messy notes. They use automation. And if you're thinking about making
ये
money
हमको
online,
जो
you need
high
something to help
scale
you
जो
keep
प्रोडक्ट
track
होते हैं
of everything. That's why I
and fast
recommend
growing global वाले
using
उसमें
a
देखने को
CRM
मिलता है.
system. Odoo CRM is great. It helps you remember who you talk to,
ऐड के बारे में
what
चल रहा है
they
तो बात करते
wanted,
हैं.
and what you
बच्चों
need
में
to
जो
do
हाई स्केल
next.
प्रोडक्ट होते हैं जो कि
Instead of
काफी लार्ज
scrolling
नंबर
through
पे एक
emails
सर्विस
or
दे रहे होते
DMs
हैं,
trying to
लाइक
find what the client
इम्पोर्ट
said,
एक्सपोर्ट के लिए
everything
सामान दे
is
रहे
in
हैं,
one
पैकिंग
place.
वगैरह,
I mean, you
तो
can visualize all your
आपको
opportunities
टाइम
from
में
this
ऑर्डर कंप्लीट करने
report,
पड़ते हैं,
which helps you see the
because big
expected
companies
revenue each
like
stage,
NBC
so you know
and
where to
Kabani and many more,
focus your efforts.
they
You
want
can
कि
also use
डिले
it to
ना हो,
schedule calls
उसके
and
बेसिस पे वो
meetings
परमानेंट
effortlessly. Plus,
सर्विस
with your
पर्टिकुलर
emails
बिजनेस
notified all in
पर्टिकुलर
one
सप्लायर
place,
लेते हैं.
staying organized is very easy. You can use it to easily track your clients and projects so you never miss a deadline.
एक
You
दो बार
can
उनके
set
एक्सपोर्ट
reminders
प्रोडक्ट
to
नहीं
follow
होता
up
टाइम
with
पर,
people so you're
तो
always
they will
professional. At the end of the
look
day,
over
clients don't just
and
want
try to
someone skilled, they
search
want
someone
someone
else
they can count on. As
जो
I was planning
उनको
on talking about them
रिलायबली ऑन
anyway,
टाइम
I
प्रोडक्ट दे
reached
पाए.
out to Odoo to see if they wanted to
That is
sponsor this
more
portion
important.
of the video, and they agreed. They also offer your first application completely free with
बिकॉज
unlimited
इम्पोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट
support
के
and
अंदर जो
hosting.
शिप्स वगैरह
So
होती
if
है,
that interests you, I'll drop a link
उनके
in the
कैरियर होते
description.
हैं और कार्गो होते हैं, वहाँ से प्रोडक्ट सप्लाई
Care
होता है,
how much
वापस
money you
एक्सपोर्ट
make
होता है.
until you see at
तो
least $1 million in your
इंडिविजुअल
bank.
प्रोडक्ट
You
एक
shouldn't
एक
be
डब्बों के लिए
wasting.
अलग से
The
नहीं कर सकते.
supercars, the
उस समय
designer
उनको यहाँ
clothes, the
पे सारे
nights
ऑन
out,
टाइम चाहिए
none of
पड़ते
it
हैं
matters
एंड
unless you
मास्क
can
सप्लाई
turn
करने
your
पड़ते हैं.
income into
दैट्स
long-term
वाई जो
wealth.
सेकंड
The
जो
rich see their
सप्लायर है उस
income
पर
as
काफी
something
डिपेंडेंट
to
हो जाता है
spend, whereas
उनका
the
काम.
wealthy use it to make more money. So how do you do this? Well, you need to start investing. In front of me, I've got a risk scale, and I'm going to walk you through the 4 key areas where I put my money, starting from the safest investments all the way up to the
इस
highest
पे
risk
इंडिया में बहुत
plays.
सारी वीडियोस
Remember,
हैं.
I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing what's worked for me
Yeah, that's
over
fine.
the years.
It's very
So
good.
let's
बाकी
kick
मेरे को
this
भी
off
लगा था
with my
म्यूचुअल
high
फंड
interest savings
इम्पोर्टेंट.
account. They
इसके
call it
अलावा
a
अपन
high-interest
इक्विटी में
savings
जाते हो
account,
तो
but
इक्विटी में
honestly,
आपको
at
डिविडेंड
3%,
वाले
I
स्टॉक्स चूज
have
करनी
no
चाहिए जितना हो
idea how
सके.
to get away with that name.
ब्लू
Now,
चिप तो चलो ठीक है,
sure,
ब्लू
you
चिप
can
इंपॉर्टेंट
find
है,
better rates
बट
if you're
डिविडेंड
willing
ये है
to
कि धीरे
lock
धीरे
your money
एक्यूमुलेट होता
away
रहेगा
for
तो
a
आपको
set period,
हर साल पैसा
or
आना चालू हो
agree
जाएगा.
strict deposit limits each month.
एंड
But
क्रिप्टो में
I don't want my
5-10%.
savings held
एक वो
hostage.
एज वाला
I want
फॉर्मूला है,
access to my money when I
कितनी एज में
need it.
कितना
I'm
करना
not
है, वो
stuck
वाला फॉर्मूला
behind
अच्छा है
some
काफी.
rule that says I can only withdraw
अकॉर्डिंग
on
टू
the
योर रिस्क
first
एपिटाइट.
Tuesday of every leap year. And I know what some of you are
अकॉर्डिंग
thinking.
अकॉर्डिंग टू
Mark,
योर
this
एज.
isn't really investing. This is just holding cash. And yeah, you've got a point. But having some cash on the sidelines means you're not forced to sell investments at the wrong time. Imagine the market crashes and you suddenly need money for an emergency. If you don't have cash saved up, you'll have no choice but to sell stocks at a loss.
दिस आई
And that's
ऑल्सो
the
यूज टू डू,
fastest way
बट
to
इसका थोड़ा सा
lock
मैं
in
अलग तरीके
bad
से करता था
decisions.
कि
A high-interest savings
बॉन्ड
account
में
is
पैसा
like
डालो
your
आप,
financial
एंड
safety
जब
net.
मार्केट
It's
गिरेगा
not about
ये
making
बॉन्ड का
big
जो पैसा है जो
returns. It's
हमेशा
about having a
बढ़ेगा ही
buffer
बढ़ेगा,
so that when life
बहुत
throws
कम बढ़ेगा बट बढ़ेगा,
unexpected
उसको फिर
expenses
आप
at you, you're
फ्लो कर
covered
सकते हो.
without
ऑल
wrecking your long-term
ऑफ सडन तो नहीं डाला, 1-2 दिन लगते हैं,
investment.
बट
Two is
लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए
index
बेस्ट रहता है.
funds. Have you ever heard the saying, it only takes the price of a coffee a day to become a
Either you keep
millionaire?
the cash at your
Well,
home
that's down to index
or
funds
just
and ETFs. I've made a lot of
बैंक में
money
रखो
from simple
या फिर आप
long-term
बॉन्ड में
index
डालो.
fund investing, and as an added benefit, it's extremely low maintenance. There are
Don't
tons
buy
of different
at the
index funds
higher
and
point.
ETFs, but the most popular buzzword, of course, is the S&P 500, which is 503 of the top publicly traded companies in America, all packed into one easy investment. Even though this is the biggest index fund in my portfolio by percentage, I do also invest into a total stock market fund. The best I found for US investors is VTSAX, and for the UK people is the VWRL ETF. Additionally, I think it's important to have some money invested in an emerging market index fund. The best I found in the USA is the VWO, and in the UK is the
Basically ETF है.
ETF. But there are lots
ETF
of
में
other
क्या होता है कि
emerging
ग्रुप्स
market
ऑफ
funds
कंपनी का
available, so
ETF
it's
बना लिया
worth
जाता
having
है,
a bit of a look
एंड
around.
वो
If all those index fund
उसके
names
अकॉर्डिंगली
make you
बढ़ते रहते
glaze
हैं एक तरीके
over,
से.
then here's an
बट ये
awesome
डायरेक्टली
fact
ETF नहीं होता,
to
निफ्टी
wake
वफ्टी
you
और
up.
सेंसेस
The
है.
average return of the S&P 500 over the last 10 years has been over 10%, which means if you invest just $5 instead of buying a
हमारे
coffee
इंडिया
every
पे
single day
एक्सिस
from
बैंक
the
इन
age
सब
of
के अलग अलग
18
सेपरेट
to
ETF भी होते हैं.
67 and achieve the same return, then you'd retire with over $1 million. And if you don't want to wait until you're 67, just invest more money. That's what I've done for many years, and it's worked really well for me. Investment 3 is individual stocks. Now, this is where things get exciting. Individual stocks can be a great way to start investing,
That is
especially with
risky, but
smaller amounts
still
of
I
money.
say
They allow you to
blue
get
chip
hands-on experience with the
or
market in a way that index funds don't. When I
dividend
first
stock.
started, I really enjoyed picking stocks and learning how to read companies' financial statements. Honestly, if I hadn't actually invested my own money, I doubt I'd
मैंने
ever
बहुत
been
सारी फाइनेंशियल जो
motivated to
स्टेटमेंट
understand how it all worked. That's
एंड
why
जो
when you're starting out,
प्रॉफिट लॉस की जो
individual
शीट आती
stocks
है वो
can feel
बैलेंस शीट
more
मैंने पूरी रीड
engaging.
करी
Of
है एंड
course,
समझी है.
they
बीइंग
also
अ
come
डॉक्टर
with higher risk. But if you're only
मैंने बहुत
investing in a
कुछ
small
किया.
amount, it can be a useful way to learn how the market moves without putting too much at stake. Another big advantage is that you get direct exposure to specific companies. With index funds, even if a company is performing incredibly well, it may only make up a small part of your portfolio. With individual stocks, you get to experience those gains more directly. But of course, this means more ups and downs, which is something to keep in mind. By the way, Trading 212 are currently giving away a free fractional share worth up to £200 when you use the code Tilbury and fund your account. So if you want to pick that up, I'll leave the link in the description below. Investment 4 is cryptocurrency.
Okay, add
when
going.
Bitcoin first came out
last
in
point.
2009, I, like a lot of people, just assumed it was a scam. I was used to investing in real tangible assets like property and stocks. Things backed by actual companies. The idea of some digital currency with no one in charge seemed way too risky. But as time went on, I started paying more attention. By early 2019, I decided to dip my toes in, and over the last few years, I've been steadily buying more Bitcoin and Ethereum. Looking back, it's been a solid move, and it's made me a
मैंने एक
decent
स्ट्रेटजी
amount of
नोटिस
money.
करी है.
Now, I won't deny that
इनिशियल
altcoins
आप
and meme
एक
coins
महंगी
can make
लेते हो,
people
जमीन लेते
crazy
हो
returns, but
सेंट्रो सिटी में,
they're also way
5-6
riskier.
महीने बाद
For
उसकी रेट
every
होने आती
person
है,
who makes a
फिर आप
fortune,
पेरीफेरी के
there's
अंदर पैसे
plenty
बचे
who
हुए सुने
lose
रहते
it
हो,
just as fast.
फिर
These
उसकी रेट बढ़ती
days,
है,
I'd say
फिर
I'm
6
a
महीने
lot
बाद
more
आप और
bullish
दूर
on
मतलब
crypto,
सेंटर
but
से
I'm still playing
बाहर
it
को
smart,
डालते हो,
building my
पैसे
position
बनाते रहते हो.
slowly
एंड अगर आपने मैटर नहीं करता सिटी बीच में रहना, आपके लिए बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है। मैंने जिस सिटी के अंदर मैं भी रहता हूँ, मैं बहुत सारे लोग देखे मैंने जिन्होंने स्ट्रेटेजी काफ़ी अच्छे से फॉलो किया है, बार बार प्लॉट बेच के एंड बिल्डिंग बना के सेल करके, एंड दे themselves switch their main location.
Make sure to subscribe if you want to grow your wealth.
Okay, I'll see you over there.
अबे that's enough. बहुत छोटी वीडियो लगी मुझे यार। ओके, सो मोस्टली मुझे लगा था ये जो वीडियो है खास करके जो फोकस कर रही है फोर्थ क्वाड्रेंट को, जहाँ पे बात किया गया है फास्टर ग्रोइंग एंड ग्लोबल स्केल पे लेके। बट जल्दी से ऐसे थंबनेल डिज़ाइन वगैरह एंड वीडियो एडिटिंग वगैरह जल्दी से प्रोजेक्ट नहीं मिलते हैं, एंड आपको मिलेंगे भी तो बहुत सस्ते वाले मिलेंगे। मतलब लोग देना ज़्यादा पसंद नहीं करते हैं पैसे देना, कि काफ़ी ज़्यादा बल्क में लोग अवेलेबल भी हैं, तो आप काफ़ी अच्छी खासी एडिटिंग दे रहे हो, पूरा टाइम दे रहे हो। कई बार आप 3 4 दिन लगा रहे हो, उसके बाद आपको 300 500 रुपये मिलते हैं। दैट इज़ नॉट वर्थ गेटिंग। एंड पर्टिकुलरली उससे ज़्यादा तो अगर आप यूट्यूब पे खुद ही वीडियो बनाने लग जाओगे, हाउ टू मेक थंबनेल एंड हाउ टू डू वीडियो एडिटिंग एंड वीडियो एडिटिंग का यूज़ करके बहुत अच्छे डॉक्यूमेंट वगैरह बना दोगे, तो आपको वहाँ सब्सक्राइबर मिल के वैसे ही आपका बन जाएगा काम। बाकी बेसिकली ये हो सकता है कि आपने खुद का चैनल बना के कर लिया है, तो उसके बाद आप उसको ऑटोमेशन में डाल सकते हो, क्लाइंट से प्रोजेक्ट आ रहे हो किसी और से बनवा सकते हो। वो एक बहुत अच्छा तरीका हो सकता है अगर आप पॉपुलैरिटी मिल चुकी है। एक चैनल है जो मोहक मंगल के लिए थंबनेल बनाती है लड़की, एंड उसके बाद में उसके यूट्यूब चैनल पे भी उसने डाला है को, और उसको और भी प्रोजेक्ट आना चालू हो गए हैं। कि पोर्टफोलियो तैयार कर लिया है, अब वो खुद बना रही है, बैक एंड में कोई पूछता नहीं है। मतलब वो मेन काम कर रही है एंड उसके साथ में काम भी चल रहा है, एंड प्रॉफिट शेयर तो बहुत करती होगी। बाकी हर किसी को नहीं मिल पाता, आपको अपनी जो स्पेसिफिक स्किल होती है, ऑफ कोर्स ये जो वीडियो एडिटिंग एंड थंबनेल है वो स्किल का ही मैटर करता है। सो वो आपको बिल्डअप बहुत ज़्यादा लेवल पर करनी पड़ेगी। बीइंग एन एवरेज मुझे लगता नहीं है कोई को वीडियो एडिटिंग के लिए या थंबनेल डिज़ाइन के लिए पैसा देने वाला होगा। एंड बड़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट, हाँ ये चीज़ है जो आप जीरो लेवल पे घर बैठे कर सकते हो, थोड़ा बहुत अर्न कर रहे हो अकॉर्डिंगली। एंड जो म्यूचुअल फंड की वीडियोस होती है जहाँ पे लोग डिस्कस करते हैं कि किस तरीके से कितना परसेंटेज डालना है, फॉर्मूला बनाया गया है। हमारे इंडिया के बहुत सारे फेमस है, प्रांजल कामरा, सी रचना रनाडे एंड योगी, बहुत सारे लोग एसेट योगी। तो आप देखिए उनके अंदर बहुत सारी ऐसी इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलती है, एंड दैट इज़ वर्थ, लिटरली वर्थ वॉचिंग। So this was enough from Dr. Karan. This is the best financial video all across the YouTube. And particularly मुझे लगा नहीं सब कुछ कवर किया है, but who knows। बाकी एल्गोरिथम की बात होती है, एल्गोरिथम ने इसको वीडियो को बहुत ज़्यादा पुश किया था, इसलिए आई थिंक बहुत ज़्यादा व्यूज़ भी है, 13 मिलियन के आसपास व्यू है। मार्क टिलबरी की ये वीडियो है, एंड सो दिस वॉज इनफ। मेरे अकॉर्डिंगली मैं इसको रेटिंग दूँ तो मैं आई वॉन्ट से इट इज़ द बेस्ट वीडियो ऑल अक्रॉस यूट्यूब। बस एल्गोरिथम ने इसको पुश किया है। सो मेक श्योर टू सब्सक्राइब दिस चैनल विद द लाइक बटन। बाकी जो हमारा जो क्वालिटी कंटेंट है वो आपके पास आता रहे। एंड हमारे सेकंड चैनल पे जो मिशन इम्पॉसिबल की जो आई थिंक मोर देन 50 और 60 डिटेल उसको हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं, उसको हम जरूर देखिएगा। दोस्त चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा, उसको भी सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच।